This is WTOL TV Channel 11, Toledo, Ohio. It is time now for Toledo 11 News, the weekend report. Saturday, July 26, 1975. Here now, Peter Wiggins. Good evening, everybody. I'm Peter Wiggins. Here's what's happening. Toledo Municipal Court revenue dropped a third in the first 6 months of 1975, and city officials view shortages of policemen and fewer traffic tickets as the cause. The court took the $717,203 during the first half of the year, compared with $858,815 during the same period last year. Administrative Judge Francis Restoville said, with cases filing up in the criminal, civil, and small claims areas, Judge Restivo said that the fine drop can be traced to traffic cases which are down by nearly a third from 1974. Police officials confirmed that the fewer traffic tickets are being written, but they added that this is because there are fewer patrolmen to write them. Division manpower 62 below its authorized level, Deputy Chief Richard Kwiatkowski said. And for the last several months, traffic patrolmen have been called for their regular duty to assist and fill in for the one-man patrol cars. Some days the traffic patrolman might enter 15 crime calls. Chief Kwiatkowski said that doesn't leave him much time for his job. In a 6-month period ending June 3rd, 26,025 moving violations were issued, Sergeant Larry Armstrong of the Traffic Bureau said. A total of 26,930 citations were written from January through June 1984. Beginning March 15th, traffic crews were diverted from their regular duties to assist regular patrols where necessary, Sergeant Armstrong said. On June 1st, the practice went one step further when a third shift was established at traffic patrol districts were relied to conform more closely to one-man car districts. An 18-day bike trip that took 6 Perrysburg youths and 2 teachers as far as Minnesota became memories of friendly encounters and nights spent sleeping in dairy barns as the Cyclists returned to their homes on Friday. The economical way to travel was a learning experience for the boys. Aged 12 to 15, Julius Bittner, a mathematics teacher at Perrysburg Middle School, had indicated that the youths were excellent ambassadors from the Toledo area. The other chaperone was Ted Barnes, a history teacher at the same school, which said most of the cyclists may have finished the trip weighing in a few pounds less, but with muscles better toned from pedaling more than 1,000 miles throughout Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois. There were no serious mishaps, and there were many meeting chats and friendly helpings hands along the way, Mr. Butler said. The mishaps included dropping out along the road in Chicago of a 7th biker, Greg Holmes, whom was forced to flee to take the shelter with relatives in the Windy City. The only other mishap was a pileup of 3 cyclists, which the worst injury was a bruising but resulted wheels being bent on 2 on the bikes, causing a lane when they were repaired at a shop, Ms. Bittner said. All of the cyclists were impressed by the hospitality and midwesterners along there, particularly rural areas, Mrs. Barnes said.
The prosecution wrapped up its case, and the final witness did take the stand.
Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's super sleuth, has been dead for 3 quarters of a century, but it is the stormy patrols of Monterey Bay he is today as much living figure as he occupied the rooms of 2218 Baker Street in London in 1890. Don't let the name put you off. The stormy patrols in the Toledo branch, Sienna, the Sherlock and Lingo at the Baker Street Irregulars of International Organization of Sherlock Holmes buffs, the Toledo group, which shares a nationwide imagination with Conan Doyle's Victorian detective and his bumbling Ned Tap. Dr. Watson sponsored Billy Wilder's film The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes at a midnight showing on a Friday at the Westwood Theater, performed in the spring of 1972 by Paul Ashdown at 2389 University Hills Boulevard, John Dowden of Woodville, Ohio, and Terry Crowley of 1707 Potomac Drive, all of whom are University of Toledo, at a common ground that the sign-out contains about 20 members, 6 of whom are women.
Remind the jury that the 83-year-old guy sitting in the courtroom when he was
the Press Club of Toledo could reopen its quarters in the basement at the Renaissance Hotel, but its members are willing to operate the restaurant and the bar. The receiver of the hotel said Friday the club has been reeling space in the hotel building, and the Renaissance provided food and beverage service. Attorney Joseph N. Perlman, receiver of the Renaissance Corporation, on Friday fired 18 hotel employees, saying that the Renaissance was unable to meet the payroll primarily because of its tax bill. All commercial tenants in the hotel at St. Clair and Adams Streets are to remain, but the Press Club staff at all but 2 members of the hotel staff were terminated. Mr. Perlman said that the employees were informed Friday morning that they were being fired and that they would not be paid for last week. This weekend, last week, the press club staff decided to padlock the main entrance to the club and serve no lunches, he said. Mr. Perlman said he would be willing to continue to rent space to the press club, but that the corporation would no longer afford to pay employees within minor taxes and unemployment compensation assessments. The hotel currently serves $89,000 in unpaid federal withholding taxes, he said. The receiver said the hotel would continue to provide maintenance for the space rented by the
His associates faces the judge.
003-member private club, but the press club would have to play it sold cooks and waitresses.
Associate Ernest Wallace had a very close relationship with Aaron Hernandez, so much so that Hernandez...
Musical ability, marching prowess, and showmanship will be displayed by 23 of the top drill units in the U.S. and Canada in 3rd Annual Key to the Sea International Drum and Bugle Championships in Toledo on August 2nd. The one-day event in which visitor groups will buy for $60 at all the press, but it will be held at the University of Toledo. Glass Bowl. Preliminary will begin at 8 a.m. with the top 10 to compete for first place awards and finals starting at 7:30 p.m. All events will be open to the public for a fee. For many of the visiting units, the Toledo contest will be part of the tour to the nation's leading competitions, including the American National Meet on Pennsylvania on August 5th, United States Open at Marion, Ohio on August 9th, and the Drum Corps International Championship at Philadelphia on August 15th and 16th.
And how it was Wallace who bought two...
A summertime fun turned into tragedy as a 16-year-old boy from East Toledo died Friday in Toledo Hospital after apparently of injuries suffered July 11th when he dived into a 6-foot deep pool from a second-story porch. Dr. Harry F. McInerney, Lucas County coroner said Roberto Abadis, the son of Mrs. Francisca Abada, a one Radiant Park villager, apparently broke his neck in a dive at a private home in Port Place, the coroner said. I rumbled to me pending investigation. The youth who was to be a sophomore at Woodward High School worked for the Toledo Area Manpower Consortium for the last 2 summers, also served are his brothers, Jesse Jr., Oscar Herman, Umberto David, and son, Nia and sister Irma, and grandparents Miss Mrs. Joaquin Apador and Guadalupe Marian. Mommy officer sued for $375,000. There.
We also learned today that Aaron Hernandez continues to financially support...
In Cairo, President Anwar Sadat told UN Secretary General Kurt Waldheim here Friday that Egypt expects Israeli troops pulled from the occupied territories to begin before the latest UN peacekeeping mandate in Sinai expires on October 24th, informed sources said here. Mr. Sadat said later in a television speech, we have not have the upper hand and it does not matter to what if certain step fails or succeeds. Our armed forces are ready and we have full confidence in ourselves. The president spoke shortly after Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin had said at an Israeli television interview that Egypt's latest proposals on interim peace agreements are substantially unacceptable. In Venice, California, an actor and an actress were slain while walking along a residential street here. The killings came 40 minutes after 3 masked men ambushed 2 couples in Santa Monica, killing a woman with a shotgun blast while the others lay spread eagled on the ground. Venice and Santa Monica are within 5 miles of each other in West Los Angeles County. Police said Friday that they are investigating a possible connection between the Thursday night flames and an armed robbery that occurred in the vicinity during the same brief time span. The actor and actress were killed shortly before midnight.
Patriot Nation is weighing in tonight also as the Hernandez case.
Bob Crutchland, spokesman for Mary Tyler Moore Enterprises, said the actress was Barbara Colby, 36, who played mostly minor roles in films and television and was on the upcoming Phil TV series. Miss Colby was the daughter-in-law of entertainer Ethel Merriman. In Lisbon, Portugal's ruling armed forces movement Friday decided to concentrate political and military power in the country of 3 men. An official statement said that the triumvirate would be composed of Presidential Francisco da Costa Gomes, Prime Minister Yasco Gonzalez, and the head of the Internal Security Force, General Atel Sarriva del Caraval. Accompanying issued at the end of the 12-hour meeting of the armed forces movement, the 240 officers, subjects, and men of the movement and assembly had agreed on them meant for a strong political direction in the country.
Brandon Spikes.
You have people out there that are really encompassing the Patriot way.
But has that
U.S. involvement.
I don't think so.
In Honolulu, 33 astronauts for the Apollo were hospitalized in a Triple Army hospital Friday for treatment of lung irritation caused by an alien gas that filled the spacecraft Thursday during a recent trip to Earth. Astronaut Charles P. Stafford Vet Stieber had a daughter case slated brought to Hawaii aboard the carrier USS New Orleans, where in no immediate danger but may have been exposed to poison gas that can have a delayed and serious effect such as ammonia, doctors said. The doctor said the hospitalization was to determine the extent of leg irritation. Length at the hospital stay has not been determined, but they will be there for at least 2 days, officials said. The astronauts were described as happy and smiling as they entered the hospital. Officials said they were taken in the intensive care ward, but only because of the equipment available for their treatment. Officials said the astronauts may have been exposed for 9-11 minutes to a rocket fuel accelerator known as nitrogen dioxide. The gas filled their cabin as the spacecraft descended towards splashdown. Nitrogen dioxide is described in medical books as one of the most insidious gates, which can cause only slight pain upon the initial contact, but that possibly lead to serious lung congestion several days later. The effects of the hospitalization were ordered to determine if there is effects develop. General Stafford, the spacecraft commander, asked officials to notify the astronaut wives and tell them that we're feeling pretty good. That spacecraft splashed out Thursday in the Pacific 350 miles west of Hawaii after a 9-day space mission that equaled a 2-day link-up with a Soviet spacecraft.
Casey, stop by the Honda Summer.
Washington, Secretary of the Interior Stanley Halfway resigned Friday for reasons of personal health. The resignation was accepted by my deepest regrets by President Ford, who told the alien Mr. Halfway, I want you to know and I fully understand and sympathize with the health considerations that have prompted your decision. Mr. Halfway has been under medical and psychiatric care at Bethesda Naval Medical Center suffering from what his staff described as a fatigue and moderate depression. Doctors also reported that they discovered he is suffering from a mild case of diabetes. He entered the hospital on July 15th, and the resignation was announced at the White House with issues of an exchange of letters between Mr. Halfway and the president. In his letter, Mr. Halfway said, and in his deepest regret that the reasons of personal health asks accept my resignation. Mr. Halfway, a former governor of Wyoming, demanded office just under a month. Mr. Ford in his letter accepted the resignation. Needless to say, I would have much preferred that you were able to continue to fulfill your challenges and strengthen responsibilities at the Interior. Ron Nesson, the White House press secretary, said he has no idea when Mr. Ford will make a successor. A member of Mr. Halfway's staff called at the White House Thursday. It's I declared that Mr. Halfway wanted to resign. Mr. David said that the letter was delivered to the president's office Thursday night. In Stanford, California, Stephen Smith, a Stanford University research assistant held captive by rebels in eastern Zaire since May 19th, has been released unharmed, on university officials reported late Friday. Bob Byers, director of the information at Stanford, said Mr. Smith, 22, was brought across Lake Tanganyika into Tanzania early today, Tanzanian time. He said Professor David Hamburg, the university's last man in Tanzania, notified him by telephone that Mr. Smith is fine and well and very, very happy to be reunited with his father. Mr. Smith was kidnapped along with 3 other Stanford students, Barbara Smuts of Ann Arbor, Michigan, Kerry Hunter of Afton, California, and Emil Bergman of Rot, the Netherlands. Ms. Smuts was released shortly after the kidnapping and carried a demand from the rebels for arms money and the release of political prisoners in Tanzania. The other 2 women were released 6 weeks ago. The Soyuz and Apollo crews in Moscow are expected to tour each of its countries in the next 2 months, informed sources said Friday. The Soyuz crew Alexei Lenov and Valery Kutanov will probably go to the United States in late August, and General Stafford, Mr. Brood, and Mr. Slayton are expected to come to the Soviet Union in the latter part of September, the sources said. And that schedule has not been worked out. And Philip William T. Coleman Jr., who has been Transportation Secretary since March, says he plans to stay only in the end of 1976.
Police revealing that that man, Edwin Alamany, is a person of interest in the kidnapping and murder of South Boston woman Amy Lord.
In Ankara, Turkey, the Turkish government declared that Friday that the bilateral defense treaties for the United States are no longer valid and ordered activity halted at the 20 U.S. military installations in Turkey beginning today.
And they are awaiting DNA.
The cabinet took the step in reaction to 223-206 vote by the United States House of Representatives Thursday against some women in American Airways shipment to its NATO country. The Ford administration sought a partial lifting in a ban imposed on February because of this Turkish invasion of Cyprus. The decision broadcast by the state radio and television while the cabinet occupied the meet said that all U.S. military installations in Turkish would be placed under the control of the Turkish Armed Forces. A special status was designed for the strategic airbase with a nuclear bomber at Inkrikti. In southeast Turkey, the announcement said that all activities in Inkrikti are not related to joint defense. North Atlantic Treaty Organization would be halted and not elaborate. The United States has about 7,000 military men stationed in Turkey besides the Inkrikti Turkey. Based the United States installation consists of intelligence gathering radio stations and provide surveillance to the Soviet Union. Some are small stations with 5 or 6 men. The statement said that the bilateral defense treaties between Turkey and the United States under which the installation is set up are no longer valid.
but the state suggests
Turkey had called for negotiations over the arms embargo last month and given the United States a 1 month deadline before the bases would be placed on an uncredited team in Paris status, but action was postponed until after the House vote. President Ford said to telegraph to ECA immediately after the House vote, asking the governor not to close the bases, and Secretary of State Kissinger telephoned Prime Minister Solomon DeMeo urged restraint.
but quote, we do what
In Washington, President Ford said Friday that he had not abandoned the people of Eastern Europe signed a European security agreement with the Soviet Union.
Robert Mayer called
Critics have said the agreement to be signed in Helsinki, Finland next week after the seal of the borders established after World War II.
more than a dozen different
Describing the security conference summit in Helsinki as a modest undertaking, Mr. Ford stressed that this
during all that time.
discovered that I was that neither a treaty nor that illegally burdened any participated state.
WCVB News Hour 5.
Now, your Sport Team 5 forecast with media.
Washington President Ford viewed on the 719 bill off Fund Bill
Keep an eye on the tropics. You see, we've got a
for
tropic.
the Education Appropriation Bill for 1976 say there was too much American people and economy to bear. President Ford said he has long believed that education one of our strong foundations. Stories by Republican Committee said the issue of the bill was whether we want to improve the fiscal discipline of ourselves or whether we aren't going to spend ourselves into fiscal insolvency. Mr. Ford said a vetoed bill called for the spending of $1.5 billion more than his budget proposal. The president urged Congress to say this veto so it would be possible to work together as we heard before to achieve responsible compromise. In a statement he read to his Oval Office, Mr. Ford pointed out that it was the first regular appropriation bill passed by Congress this year. He said he has been drawn line on a budget deficit of $60 billion for fiscal 1996. Well, Congress wants to set the deficit level at $60 billion. Mr. Ford estimated that according to Congress's own budgeted figures, and now appears there, maybe a deficit this year of the lower than $83.6 billion. I cannot be a good conscious support for a huge deficit for Mr. Ford said. Now, can the people of the country can afford the inflation that would be available to be result? This was the latest in a continued series of vetoes by Mr. Ford on measures he believes might be contributing to the increase in the nation's economic woes. The House set Tuesday, September 9th for a vote of an override the veto. The National Education Association urged that Congress to override the veto, urging that innocent children and youth are being used as scapegoats by the economic troubles.
This is going to be moving all the way across Essex.
Okay, now to the weather here.
You're going to be seeing some downpours, look like as well.
Right now at 6 o'clock reports at Toledo Airport on this July the 26th, 1975. On a Saturday, we have a temperature of
And today did not feel
79 degrees with a dew point about 58 degrees with a humidity 48%, around 3.5 inches dew. Visibility 20 miles per hour, wind southwest about 7 in the conditions, partly cloudy skies.
what's going to happen next.
All right.
Next week.
Right now, our current conditions around the region.
Now you've got temperatures into the 70s. You're near the shoreline, just into the 65.
75 in Cleveland, 70 in Akron, Kenton, and in Youngstown, 81 in Mansfield, 84 in Columbus and Dayton, 83 in Cincinnati, it's 82 in Indianapolis, 80 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, 80 in South Bend, 83 in Gary, Indiana, 83 in Chicago Midway, 82 in Chicago O'Hare, 70 in Grand Rapids, 79 in Lansing, and 80 in Detroit.
Some patchy fog down towards the Cape, otherwise mostly sunny skies. Outside of a few clouds, tomorrow is looking great. Temperatures up around 84 degrees.
Okay, what about the nation today? A cool stretch of weather stretching from the Midwest, stretching from the Middle United States to the Northeast. While 2 areas of precipitation lurk. A couple of little showers of thunderstorms off the Oklahoma, Texas, stretching through the inland southeast, stretching from the Oklahoma, Texas, all the way through the Carolinas, and another batch of precipitation in the upper Midwest states upon the lower front. Given showers of thunderstorms from the upper Midwest, from North Dakota, South Dakota, Northern Nebraska, through Iowa, and in Minnesota to Ontario. In the west, it's dry, pleasant weather, and hot weather in the southwest.
Watch out. But you better plan on having a little bit of rain for early in the day and then late in the day as well. So evening showers.
So, tonight we are going to have some clear skies for the Toledo and vicinity area.
Manageable tomorrow. Sunday is unsettled, and then
For tonight, low about 55, 60, and Sunday, more of the same. Number winner, sunny skies with high under 80 degrees for tomorrow.
afternoon thunderstorms. It looks pretty nice.
Precipitation about 10% tonight.
Again, by the time we get into
0 tomorrow. Inland winds southerly about 10 miles per hour to the southwest. Miami Bay and adjacent waters variable about 6 to 12 knots today. And for Ohio, most the same today and Sunday with the highs upper 70s to mid 80s for tonight, lows in the mid 50s to the lower 60s. Indiana, sunny today, highs in 80s, low tonight, 60 to 65 degrees. Part Sunday, highs in mid upper 80s. And lower Michigan, sunny today, highs in the mid 70s to lower 80s. Good tonight. Lows in the 50s, Portugal Sunday, chances Shaw's north highs upper 70s to mid 80s. And for upper Michigan, cloudy tonight, lows in the 50s, including from the west, south, and chances Shaw's and east highs in the 70s. And that is gonna be it for the weather. Now on the sports. Tonight, the Mud Hens will be at home tonight, taking on the Charleston. Okay, Major League Baseball scores started in the National League. Scores was New York Mets nipping the Chicago Cubs 9-8 in 10 innings. It was the Cincinnati Reds over Los Angeles Dodgers 5-3. It was Montreal over Pittsburgh 5-2 win. In the American League was Boston over New York Yankees 4-2. Baltimore blanket Milwaukee 4-0. Chicago White Sox over Oakland 5-2. Cleveland blanket Detroit 6-0.
During this time of turmoil.
Guys get better every single year. You know, guys like Brady, Wilfork, Mayo, Mankins, guys like that, going back to, you know, somewhere like
Montreal, there's nothing like a stubborn standoff to keep a golf tournament interesting, and it also helps with a strong competitor threatened from just one stroke behind. Jack Nicklaus, whose 56 pro victories did not include a Canadian Open, and Gabe Brewer, a gray-haired 20-year veteran whose last victory was a 72 Canadian Open, completed the third round of the Canadian Open today just as they are started in tied for the lead. Van and hot pursuit as Tom Weiskopf, the 1973 championship, who made up some ground he lost yesterday to get close to the leaders. Nicklaus and Brewer shot up and down rounds of 70, even the par 5, the Royal Montreal Golf Club. And Weiskopf shot 68 after 54 holes. Brewer and Nicklaus stood at 206.4 on the par wall. Weiskopf was at 207. Brewer's cramped to return from a 6-week absence while a fractured rib was healing and shot 6-7 in the best round of the day and tied Gibby Gilbert at 209.
He's committed to do that as well.
One shot behind him is Arnold Palmer, who would be lucky to win this only if the sentimental region his first appeared to as a professional was at the Canadian Open in 1955. He has won 6 events on the Pro Tour since then. Lee Torino shot a 68 at his best in the tournament and has led an 8-man class at 211. The tournament, who has a history that dates to 1904, is being played at 101-year-old golf course.
The Red Sox are in Baltimore tonight to begin a 3-game series. John Lackey on the mound. He has a lifetime record against Baltimore of 12-4, 1-0 this year, and the way the Red Sox have fared against the A's this year. They will need some good pitching.
National Football League Commissioner Pete Rozelle has awarded the Detroit Lions Reds the Los Angeles Rams running back Colin Brown as compensation for the loss of Ryan Jesse. The Lions have been hit hard by injuries by their offensive backfield and immediately boiled the selection of the 26-year-old runner. Jesse played out at his option with the Lions, then signed last month with the Rams. Rozelle, under a controversial rule now being played. It says alright, players on a court suit in Minneapolis, Minnesota set compensation after the 8 were able to agree on terms of themselves. Lions said Rozelle also will contend additional compensation in the form of a draft choice, and he decided that appropriate at the end of the 75 season. There were no immediate comment from the Rams, who made Brand the top draft choice out of the Colorado in the 1973 as a defensive back. He was made from safety to running back last year. The 6'1", 225-pound Bryant returned 31 kickoffs of 146 yards and 2 touchdowns last season, and the longest run back 93 yards. In Minnesota, Minnesota, at least 4 former University of Minnesota baseball and basketball players received money from a longtime golfer booster in violation of NCAA rules according to an investigation by a Minneapolis newspaper. The National Collegiate Athletic Association has sent the university a letter that makes about 100 allegations of recruitment violations. The university has till October 1st to respond to the allegation. The newspaper said it was known, however, that the findings much as seen in the NCAA's allegations. The paper's investigation indicated that 4 players had been given money by Harvey B. McKay, a president of McKay Envelope Company in Minneapolis, former president of the university's M Club, and longtime recruiter for the university athletes. The players are Greg Olson, who played basketball in 1972-73, then left Minnesota for Miami University of Ohio. Ron B. Hackett at the University of 71-73 now with the New Orleans Jets and National Basketball Association, and Keith Young at the University in 71 and 72-73, who left to play for University of Pacific, and Bob Murphy, who wound up his Gopher career in 71-72, according to videos with the newspaper. Olson said he sold a pair of $3.50 game tickets for $50 to McKay. Behagan, he received to rent money from Bill Musselman, a basketball coach since 1971, extra money from Mackey. He said he got $350 from McKay, and he came to Minnesota on recruiting trip and sent $75 a month for mention by an arrangement with McKay. Young's allegations included sending money from McKay to his father's Columbus home for the summer vacations and selling tickets for more than they were worth. Another Minnesota newspaper said that Musselman will be named Monday coach of the San Diego American Basketball Association. Meanwhile, the Associated Press has learned that Irv K's administrator for the Communications and Baseball's National League would be named San Diego's general manager also on Monday. In San Diego, however, Frank Goldberg, owner of the ABA club, had said Musselman had not yet been hired by the coach of the team. Goldberg said Musselman was interviewed as a candidate for the pass last week. The basketball format bringing up Minnesota's investigation by the National Collegiate Athletic Association on Wednesday. The NCAA sent the university a letter making allegations of recruiting violations.
Midwestern Mass. Drive home a brand new Honda Civic for only $67 per month. That's right, please.
Kansas City, David James Patrick grew up with the Kansas City Chiefs, but his dream of becoming their quarterback was shattered Friday when he traded the Atlanta Falcons. It did not come as a complete surprise with his former Kansas All-American, but he said he was shocked and disappointed. He said, but I just want to play ball, and now I'm sitting in the bench in Kansas City and be opposed to playing somewhere else. But that's not what I wanted. Things were not working out for Dave, and then the numbers he had quarterback, we were forced to make him some reductions. Paul Wiggins, Kansas City's new head coach, said, for James, the Chiefs received Tom Dreding and wound up a second post season last year, starting in wide receiver for Falcons. The departure at Jason's left Kansas City with Len Dawson Parkley, the number one quarterback the Chiefs have ever had. Mark Livingston, Dawson's longtime backup, Dean Carlson, a fourth-year pro from Iowa State, who had seen little NFL action. Greg Cook, a former standout with the Cincinnati Bengals before injuries hobbled him. Tony Adams, ex-Utah State, saw with the World Football League's leader power last year with a Southern California Senate. Mike Knott, a rookie free agent from Santa Clara. Orlando, Florida. Robert Lord, the former Boston, the defunct Florida Blazers football team will be in Orlando from Boston on Friday to face narcotics and embezzlement charges. Lord was being transported from Boston aboard Federal Drug Enforcement Administration jet, taken by 2 Orange County deputies after losing an 8-month court battle to avoid extradition. Orange County authorities clamped a tight news blackout and the scheduled arrival of the aircraft, surviving they would not disclose the plane's time on plane arrival just before they were scheduled to land. Lord, former managing general partner in the World Football League's Blazers, that would be jailed on his arrival under bonds that totaled more than $500,000.